Hey everyone, Sajil Qureshi here with another episode of RevOps 500, where we interview some of the world's greatest marketing minds. Today is no different. I'm super stoked to have I have on the show Evan Patterson, a guy I've been following a lot online lately. He's an expert marketer. He's fractional CMO in many different places. He just knows a lot about what there is to know about marketing. So Evan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
All right, so Evan, let's just kind of break right into it. What is your biggest mistake?
How do I put this? I really regret spending way too much time and energy trying to fit into traditional marketing roles and always wondering why am I having so much stress and drama in the workplace? um, I never really fit into these boxes, and I thought it was because bigger company, more paycheck equals I must be doing better at this, or I started really identifying with the titles that I was being given and handed versus focusing on what am I actually good at? What do I actually like doing? What can I do that actually moves the needle? And where can I find places that make that opportunity possible versus going after like, oh, I constantly need to be moving up the totem pole in the traditional career ladder way and these are the job titles I should be chasing because that's what good marketers do. And oh,
So
I ruined my self-esteem doing that.
So wait a minute, Evan. What I just said when I introduced you here as like a former CEO, CMO, and fractional CMO of all these cool organizations. I mean, you're saying that having those titles was your biggest mistake, and that's what I identified you as. Isn't that
I when I was younger, I'm like about like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was the head of content and community at a tech startup, and I was good at it, don't get me wrong. But I thought I was really happy
okay?
and I had a great boss. Like the work culture was not the issue. But I thought like this I was it was my first time in my career where I had a head of title, right? And I was the department basically. And I was so proud of myself, like 26 years old, I'm making 200K, I have no college degree, so I have no debt, like I'm living the life. And I hated my job. I hated it.
Hated it.
I I don't like sitting in Canva all day making content. Um I find editing videos awful. I'm always looking for an AI tool to edit faster. I'm always looking for some sort of tool to get the idea out of my head and onto paper faster. I'm a great writer. Don't get me wrong, but I only take on clients that I find fun to write for. But I was writing blogs and articles because this is what works versus this is what I want to write about. Um, and I was constantly having to live on social media for the job. So it was on my phone, and I couldn't go on my phone for anything personal without it being work related because you're already on your personal page. You might as well check the company one while we're here, you know. And so I was spending maybe 30 to 50 hours a week on my phone, with 80% of that being on social media, and I think 60 to 70% of that being my job. It
Wow.
was so I'm like 24 additional hours was on social media every week, in addition to spending hours making content in Canva, constantly chasing trends, constantly doing social media management. And I think it's why we're seeing so many people leave the social media marketing and social media management space because the job is exhausting. So, head of content community, my JD involved a lot of social media management, a lot of creating content. I will never call myself a content creator. I am a content marketer and a content strategist. I'm a content distributor. I am not a content
No, no,
creator.
no. Okay,
Um,
got you.
and
Interesting.
I was miserable, absolutely miserable. But I thought it's what I wanted because that's what you're supposed to want when you're good at this, when you're good at these things. You're supposed to want the job that you do all of the above. You love early stage startup seven. You should love all these parts. You're supposed to be good at all these parts.
So then, I mean, what changed? I mean, obviously, you're making good money. I mean, you've been at some pretty big brands. I mean, what what what
I realized
changed?
that everyone who is successful in the world has mastered the power of delegation. And and you obviously it costs money to do that, right? So I doubled down on the things that I liked to do that were marketable. It's kind of like the Japanese concept of ikigai, right? Of finding out what you love to do and what people will pay you to do. And I doubled down on those things and start and did the things I didn't want to do begrudgingly. But because I knew my talents positioned me up market, I was like, yeah, I might get less clients than my peers, but I'm going to get paid 2 to 3 times more per client than my peers because I'm going to sell the strategy piece, not the execution piece. And I'm going to either A, find ways to use AI to get the execution part done for me, or B, I'm going to subcontract or refer to people that are really good and like doing the parts that I don't like doing. And I used to feel a lot of shame because I was like, I'm a marketer. I should be good at doing like demand gen and making the videos and stuff and the editing. Like, Evan, you're trying to be the entire marketing department as one person. I didn't, and when you work, I think a lot of people don't have this problem if they work at big companies because they're used to that if their whole career is corporate America. But I've always worked at startups where, like when you're the content marketer, but you're really the content department. You're a lot more than just the content marketer. um and then there's a demand gen marketer, and usually that's it. That's the whole team. There might be a VP of marketing who kind of is the ringleader, maybe,
Mhm.
but the biggest marketing team I've ever been on was 3.5 people. Literally, that's the
Really?
largest I've ever been on.
That's a pretty small
So
team.
yeah, so therefore it the biggest mistake was not realizing earlier that it is totally fine to delegate. It is totally fine to say that is a lane of marketing that I value and appreciate, but I either A, it doesn't come naturally to me, B, it's not something I'm interested in doing, and C, there are people that specialize in that and love that. And we work great in tandem. So I've learned to delegate, and I've learned to look at it like being a doctor. There's so many different types of doctors. None of them are good at all types of being a doctor. I've got my lane, and there's no shame in that.
Yeah, and that's fair. So, you was there like a tipping point or a moment, when you felt like, I'm just kind of this is not for me anymore, and I'm just gonna do a 180 and do something
Yeah,
totally different with my time.
I worked for a startup that shall remain nameless. That was
Yep, yep,
probably
yep.
one of the most toxic work environments in my entire life. And the job was to run community for these people. And listen, I know my brand is built on being really good at developing community marketing plays. I actually really hate running them. I hate running them.
Interesting.
I love running my own. I am such a narcissist. I love my little fan club that I have built on LinkedIn. I don't want to run somebody else's. I don't really care. I don't want to deal with like I want to be able to respond the way I want to respond. I don't want to respond the way that your company wants me to respond, or I know I should respond because I know your brand guidelines. And I know that sounds so emotionally immature, but it's like learning to just accept the fact that this is how my brain works, right? And not fight it. And um I learned that because this company hired me and kept preaching over and over during the interview process and during the hiring process, where I didn't apply, by the way. They came to me. We love how you do your community. We love your brand. We love your edge. We love your snark. We love your humor. We love the way that your brain works. It's fantastic. But then when you have to do it their way,
Yeah, it
they
becomes a
get
problem.
mad at you when you have the audacity to take notes of what works from doing it your way. Um, and um, it's not that I can't find ways to blend it with them. It's what I realized is I am authentic to a fault. I don't know how to be anything less. I have autism and ADHD, and I'm one of the weird ones that I don't know how to mask. I've never mastered masking, and I don't think anybody ever really does, but I'm not really good at playing a game. I'm not good at that. You take it or leave it. But um and in community marketing, when you're basically saying, "Hi, I'll be your Mickey Mouse. I'm going to be your mascot," effectively. You've got to be really good at kissing some ass and selling your soul.
It's true.
And I hated it. And my boss and I would get in so many fights about how the things they wanted me to say were total bullshit. And I'm like, this is going to hurt the company's brain in the long run. You are saying things that make the customer feel good, but they're not. You're not lying, but you're also not telling the truth. Like you don't really have a POV. You're just kind of showing up. It's attention and not resonance. Like, yeah, you can light yourself on fire and 100,000 people will go, wow, that's amazing. But did anybody buy? No, because nobody cared that you lit yourself on fire. They were just entertained for the 6 seconds that you were burning. And that's kind of what they wanted me to do. So, and so I've learned, like, I would rather be the person above that position that I was in and be her job, because I've learned that my skill wasn't in doing it. My skill was in figuring out what worked and what didn't work. I hated actually doing it. I
I
hated
got it.
doing it. Yeah.
Okay, so that and then when you realized you hated doing it, then you decided to make a change, go more strategy, and then partner with people to implement and execute, and you could focus on the actual soul of the companies that you work with versus the
Yeah. And if I do it, it's to figure out what works to then hand off to someone
someone
who
else.
I can teach, right? Um, and it's usually because I'm working with companies that can't afford to hire somebody who can do both.
Mhm.
Also, personally, the person who's really good at doing these things and the person who's really good at figuring out what they should do is seldomly the same person. And we see this time and time again in professions across the world in various industries. And it's always kind of blown my mind that in marketing, it's like one of the few jobs in the world where, like, we're tasked with being good at PR, communications, crisis plans, content creation, content strategy, social media management, HR, employer branding, ghostwriting, legal, compliance,
Yep.
finance. Like, it's insane that we should be experts in all of these things. Absolutely insane. Um, so I am a big believer in just, your happiness and your self-esteem in and out of work will skyrocket, and therefore your paycheck, once you figure out where in the matrix you play best in.
And let's talk about that. So how do you figure that out? Like, what did you do? I mean, yeah, I know you had some toxic work environment kind of got
Yeah.
you some sort of a intel
Slap in the face.
slap in the face, a kick in the pants, whatever you want to call it, got you the intel. Is there any other ways that you've seen? I mean, just in your own experience, you've seen people get that intel where in the matrix they fit?
I've been fired from 19 jobs in my career. I don't think a lot of
19.
people know that about me. I've either been fired or let go from 19 jobs. Um, and it's usually a cultural fit issue or restructuring. They're having an external issue that's nothing to do with me. Or and some jobs, like, I just never should have had that job. Like, it was just the wrong job for me, and then we both even agreed. Like, I worked at one of the largest at the time Allstate agencies in Michigan as an insurance agent for personal, like, car and home insurance and
So you
stuff.
sold insurance.
Yeah, I was terrible. I was atrocious. I
I
was
would never,
awful.
I would never see you. I could never imagine see you, Evan, as a insurance sales
I was
agent.
awful. By the way, I'm really good at insurance. Like, I can tell you everything about insurance. I find it fascinating. I even worked at an insurance technology startup afterwards, but I was terrible at it because I can't close a deal to save my life. I
Okay,
can't. And this is
interesting.
before I knew I had ADHD and autism. The amount of no's that you get in cold calling, like, I know that it's not personal, but, like, when you have those mental health disorders, it's so much harder to handle it. It's 10 times harder. And kudos and shout out to anybody who's neurodivergent who has a job where you get told no over and over and over again. Like, I get told no enough as a marketer, but I can't imagine even more where you're literally pitching yourself. I pay someone to pitch me for me, literally. Shout out to Abe, you know who you are. Like, um my boss came over to me and I told him, he was like, "You're not good at this, are you?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "You're so good at explaining it and helping your coworkers, but you can't close a fucking deal." Like, I'm 3 months in, no sales, but I have sent out more quotes and have had more conversations and have had more people talk to me than anybody else in the office. And they're like, I don't understand how you're able to have more warm leads than anyone ever, but you can't close a fucking deal. And it's like, you're a marketer. You are a marketer. It's like, I would rather just change your pay structure and just pay you to generate leads,
Literally,
because whatever you're doing to get people to listen to you is working. But for some reason, you just can't go that last mile. And I'm like, well, yeah, because in my mind, like, everything you guys tell me to do, like, it's not slimy, but it feels slimy. You just say create urgency. I can't make someone give a shit. What do you mean? What? And I'm like, I've already created urgency by telling them, like, yeah, give me 5 minutes. I can see if you save money. And if we do, great. If we don't, we don't. Move on.
mm-hmm.
And they go, well, what would get you to buy? And I'm like, well, you say talk about value, but we cost $200 more per month for the same fucking product.
Exactly.
There's no value for that, especially in Michigan, where they have the highest car insurance rates in the fucking country. You know, I was paying $2,400 every 6 months for PLPD. Like,
Exactly.
so, like,
Yeah, it's way too much. Yeah.
yeah. So she's like, yeah, you're not a salesperson. Yeah, I was like, yeah, no. If you say no, I'm like, okay, bye. Like, that's my objection handling. So anyways, it was I had a lot of experiences like that in my career, where I either had a coming to Jesus talk with the boss like that, where they changed my job, or like that was the conversation where we just parted ways. And I just kept trying to find a place where my skills hit. And the first B2B, like 9 to 5 job, if you want to call it such, that really launched my career and gave me the confidence to double down on what I've been doing as like a side hustle of like the marketing stuff for so long, was when I worked at Reprise as a BDR. Shout out to Joe Caprio. He was one of the founders there at the time, and he hired me to be a social selling only BDR. So he knew I knew how to get people to stop and listen. I was really good at selling conversations, and no cold calls, no emails, just social media. And from there, the rest is history. But I got fired from 19 companies before up until then.
19. I mean, and that's, I mean, for someone who's not as long in the tooth as you are, that's a pretty, I mean, it looks like you're pretty, you say that, you don't take no very well, but I mean, there's a great book called, Getting to Yes, and that is all about, hearing no a lot, right? So, I mean,
Yeah, I think I take no better now at my current age and maturity, and but back then I didn't have that same level of emotional regulation and maturity. And also, even though I can take it well now, doesn't mean I necessarily want to have to take it. It's
of
like,
course,
I always say one of my biggest frustrations as somebody who's like, I'm very sensitive. I'm a very emotional person. But I always say, like, tell my therapist that one of my biggest frustrations is, at what point does it stop being my responsibility to deal with my emotions and everybody else's responsibility to not give me these emotions in the fucking first place? you know
and
and,
then,
and
what
she's
does your
like, well,
therapist
that's
say
where
about that?
boundaries come in, and
Boundaries? Okay.
controlling your exposure. So it's been nice to make a career for myself where, yeah, I'm always going to face rejection in life, like, that's normal. But I can curate a life where I am facing rejection that is, for me, normal. Or I can discern between constructive feedback from a credible source versus just noise, because everybody has a fucking opinion.
Yeah, so it's interesting that, you know you talked about boundaries and how to accept those, right? Because if as a sensitive person, I mean, that means that you feel everything, right? You feel whenever it's positive, you feel that really, really high, but whenever it's negative, you just feel it really, really low. But if you allow yourself that boundary to say, okay, look, when this person says no, or this situation comes, I don't say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter as much as, say, if something that's more closer to your heart is saying yes or no to you, then it's so having this self-regulation maybe helped over time, along with the fact that you're constantly you're searching for what's right and what's not right for you,
Yeah, I
stuff like
think
that. Interesting.
a lot of people need to understand that focusing on your mental health is one of the best things you can do for your career. And this whole interview is basically my long-winded way of saying, I really just my biggest regret is not thinking about or talking about it earlier and not asking for help. Um and I kept saying all the time, like, like, this just keeps happening. It just keeps happening to me. And you constantly get met with like, well, if it keeps happening to you, then maybe you're the
You're the
problem.
problem.
And I'm like, I hate that phrasing because it's like, I'm not a problem. My brain operates on a different operating system than most others people does. And I just couldn't figure out what the missing link was. It was like for almost 30 years being like the only drunk person in a room of sober people or the only sober person in a room of drunk people.
Some
Like
people.
ever since I was a little kid, I've always knew I was just different for some reason and couldn't quite put a finger on what it was. Um, so, learning that I'm neurodivergent, learning that I have autism, ADHD, and borderline personality disorder all really gave me the tools to understand, what do I really want to do for a living? What do I really like doing? Who do I like doing it with and for? And then combine my skills and knowledge and my network with, now how do I make that possible? How do I actually take this information that I've learned
Mm.
and put it to the test beyond just, my emotions, but like my newfound emotional skills? Like, how do I use this? And in a profession like marketing, where emotional intelligence really is what separates the good from the bad, it you really feel it more. Marketers, we are some of the most emotional people at any company. It's kind of like comedians. I've also done some comedy stuff too, and there's no mentally well comedians. There's no mentally well marketers either. Like we're all traumatized, and um, creative people typically are creative because they face some sort of trauma.
Well, I was I was I was I
So
was I was going
yeah.
to just pick up on what you said there. Like, there's no normal comedians, there's no normal marketers. What if we took that one step further and said there's no quote unquote, I hate to use the word good, but there's no memorable comedians or marketers who are normal, perhaps? I mean, like, the
Well,
ones
I
that,
don't like to use the word normal because what is normal?
what is
You
normal, right?
know?
Right.
Yeah.
What is like, or
I
good?
guess
Like,
what I'm referring to as like everyone who is like that has gone through a point in their life of extreme emotional instability as a
sure,
result of trauma, typically. Or
yeah,
and like I'm not funny because I have ADHD and autism. I'm funny because I've had a lot of trauma as a result of living
yeah,
in a world not built for that.
exactly.
And having autism and ADHD is not inherently difficult. People without autism and ADHD make it difficult. I could swap those words up, by the way, for being gay. But same issue,
Same issue.
but different flavor. So and in marketing, that it only hits home more because you're in a room full of other people with the same baggage,
Same
basically, and
baggage.
some of you have just handled it better than others.
Yeah.
and
You call it different things, but yeah, same. They say, oh, you raise your hand if you're this, raise your hand if you're that. You say, okay, well, you got those labels, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, everybody's got something, and
yeah,
that's
everybody's
that's what makes them
got
unique.
their
That what
yeah,
is
everybody got their
normal? Yeah,
flavor of PTSD, right? And
exactly.
I've
Yeah,
just
exactly.
um I've just been really just happy that I learned this at 31. I mean, I've really started my mental health journey at like 29 after having an extremely terrible mental health crisis, but that lasted like a couple of years there and almost had to file for bankruptcy. And I
Oh
was
no.
considering leaving my profession entirely, and without having a single idea what I was going to do for a living anymore. Like, I was sleeping 16 hours straight. I was stoned off my ass every hour of every day because anything to numb the
Mm.
pain. I was miserable for like a year and a half there, and a lot of people I know saw that in my content too, because I was very public about it. Um, but I'm glad I went through all of that so I could be like, I am not the same person that I was if you followed me 3 or 4 years ago at all. I barely recognize myself even when I look at pictures of me. And then the second bit is like, I really just wish there were people when I was younger that told me that I needed to do these things and I thought I knew better. Like, I was your cocky, like, I'm
Yeah.
25, I'm head of content community, I'm making 200K, I don't have a college degree, so clearly I've nailed it. What are you talking about? I have a job most people my parents' age can't even get. What are you talking about? Like, I was so arrogant. I was so egotistical. I was an absolute asshole. um, and I really just wish I got help earlier. I really do.
And then but I mean, it's sometimes like those. those no's, those failures. I use the term loosely. I mean, like
But
those.
failures are a good thing. I
That's
love
what I'm
to
saying.
fail because that's how
Yeah,
you learn.
that's how you learn, right? I mean, you don't learn if you're head of content and community making 200K and without a college degree. I mean, you don't seem like someone who has learned a whole lot at that point. But now, on the other end of it, I mean, you probably see yourself as someone who has learned a lot through everything
Yeah.
else besides being head of content and community making 200K plus a year.
Yeah, and I was absolutely qualified for the job in hindsight. Still, I think I was there. I'm more qualified now, if anything. Um, there's been jobs that I've had where I'm like, oh, if only we both knew that I shouldn't have had that job.
Right.
The insurance agent being one of them. I was an SDR at an AI chat company a while back,
Mhm.
like an AI SMS company, and I was awful, absolutely terrible at it. And it was because like I was afraid to acknowledge that like I'm just not good at cold calling. I'm really not good at selling to certain ICPs that are very transactional. I'm really good at selling to people. I mean, I'm not good at selling, but like, I'm really good at building rapport and conversations with people that want to versus you're trying to convince to. And I'm really good at making people want to. I'm not good at convincing them to. So like,
Interesting.
yeah, and because I just when my brain works, like I don't know how to pick up the phone and like how do I grab someone's attention in 2.4 seconds? Because my marketing brain is like, well, yeah, but when I make content that's like I make gay jokes on LinkedIn. I've made jokes on LinkedIn like I'm too gay to be stressed out by spreadsheets. That tells you nothing about what I'm good at for a living, right? But you'll like me and think I'm hilarious because of that. You'll hit follow for whatever reason, right? And then my next post will be like, here's 10 insightful, actionable tips about how to suck less at your job. And then you'll go, oh, he's not just funny and likable. He actually knows what he's talking about, right? It's like the top of funnel versus bottom of
Bottom
funnel
funnel.
content. That's how my brain kind of naturally works in like the real world too. Like the way you make friends is like the conversations you have when you just meet somebody versus get to know them. Like you don't go on a first date and ask somebody to marry you, right? You spend time. So
Well,
I always felt
you're
like
talking to an Indian guy over here, so
fair. I'm from the family of don't marry anybody, everybody leave us alone. Like
See,
I have
everybody's got their thing,
zero
right?
interest in having children. Like straight people, you keep doing what you do. You keep making us. We need you for reproduction. But that's about it. But like I just don't. My brain is just like if someone called me, I would be like, excuse me, who the hell are you? like that's I do not respond positively to cold calls.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I'm
Yeah,
going to
sure.
be rude, okay?
Yeah,
But like what I want to say is, I know your boss is making you do this. Can you tell your boss to fuck off? Like, because
yeah.
this is
Stop doing
this
it.
is an invasion of privacy.
Sure.
And and in my mind, I wish it was illegal, you know. But that was the job, and I know all of my sales leader friends are going to block me after this goes live. But like, I really think the normalization of cold calling is something to be ashamed of. I think in the year 2025, like if you're still door knocking or cold calling people in a world where there are two major generations, millennials and then Gen Z that's now entering the workforce, right? I'm 31, so I'm not that far off from Gen Z, like maybe like for 3 or 4 years
Three
even.
quarters. Yeah.
I hate phone calls, right? Especially with complete strangers. As we become the norm, if you keep doing this, you're up
Turning
there with
off.
people that
Yeah.
microwave fish in the office. Like there's a special place in hell for you. Um, and all those tools like parallel dialers and stuff, I'm like, if you have to get tools to parallel dial and auto dial just to get more connections, take the hint.
Yeah. Take
Take
the
the
hint.
hint. So that's kind of how I feel about it. And 5 years ago, I never would have had the confidence to say that because I would have been too concerned what other people think of me.
I
And
got
then
you.
to tie it back in.
So here's a question I've been thinking about as you've been talking. I've been like, so if you had the power to like choose what your next email in your inbox would be, what would it say and who would it be from?
Hi, I'd like to hire you. Uh, and Ooh, I don't know who it'd be from. Probably like I've been really loving the social impact space and like like a lot of my new clients are I used to do a lot of B2B SaaS marketing. And not that I don't like it, I do. But I'm making a lot of success in like marketing for consultants and creative agencies and professional services or like social impact firms. Um I would like to just have just any more of those. I would love to see maybe one that's about maybe queer people or neurodivergent people. So a little more. I love B Corps. And now that I don't like nonprofits, but I think there's a certain kind of agility that comes with being a for-profit with a nonprofit mission, and that really allows me to like use the speed at which I think like a B2B SaaS VC backed startup marketer, but through the lens of something more interesting and meaningful and that I'm passionate about, um, without feeling bogged down. And I would love more opportunities like that, and there's a lot more coming in the pipeline, and I'm really excited to announce a few projects that I've been working on for a few months soon. So stay tuned for that.
So, Evan, where can people learn more about you, your story, your good jokes, your bad ones? Where can everybody
There's a
learn
lot
about
of
them?
bad ones.
Mostly good ones. Mostly good ones. To be honest, mostly good
Hey,
ones.
just like when you're a marketer, 4 out of 5 things you do suck.
But the one that counts is the one that counts. The pickle that sticks on the window is the one that wins the race, right?
Just look at my dating history. Same thing. I really know how to pick them. I pick some real losers. You can find me on. Speaking of that, you can find me on Grindr, Scruff, Tinder. You can find me. I wish that was a joke. You can. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Evan Patterson. I am the only person that has that as their handle on LinkedIn, so it shouldn't be too hard. I am not out there yet, but I am working with an agency to launch my new newsletter coming out called The Wake Up Call. Season 1 of my new playbook podcast called The Slay Book, all about career journeys and atypical professionals and freelancers, is launches right at the end of this summer. I am launching, I have 6 audiobooks coming out this fall. And I also have the agency launching me on 6 different social media platforms. So you'll be able to follow me soon on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Deck, YouTube. I forgot what the other Reddit. Thank you for my ADHD brain. So yeah, you can follow me on all these places now and or soon. Just follow me on LinkedIn if you want something right now.
Yeah, so I mean, look, Evan, this was a lot of fun. You and I have exchanged messages. We've talked obviously in the production of the episode, but I didn't know a lot about what you shared. Especially the 19 jobs part of it. That was mind blowing. I mean,
I used to wait tables at like a Texas Roadhouse. I didn't get fired from
yeah.
that one. That I moved too far away from, but yeah.
So
I've
it
taught
was
line
logistical.
dancing.
It was logistical reasons on that one.
Yeah, I've taught line dancing. I got fired from a Red Robin. I've been I a Qdoba also.
Mexican
I rolled
Eats.
burritos. Yep,
Oh, there
I
you
did
go.
catering there. I've worked at 6 different State Farm agencies and 4 different Allstate agencies. Quit one State Farm agency, got fired, and quit the Allstate agency where the story I told you about, and then moved to Chicago. But was fired from every other one. I got fired from Art Van Furniture. um, I made $0 in sales after working there for 120 days because I thought everything the customers wanted to buy was ugly, and I have no poker face. Like I could go on, I could go on and on about jobs that I never should have been given. Really.
Yeah, so I mean, but like what I was getting at is like, it's just it's amazing to know the backstory, knowing the
Yeah.
the past, while no, also understanding the present, and at the end, of course, learning where you're going. So, thanks for coming on and chatting with me today and sharing with all of our listeners.
Thank you for having me.
So, for everyone listening out there, just check out Evan on LinkedIn. This is another episode of RevOps 500, and we'll talk soon.